attorney Jesse Benal, and also with us, distinguished professor at Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum. I'll start off with you, Thane. What do you know about this judge? And do you think former President Trump will be able to get a fair trial? I was reading one statistic that in Fulton County, they've been Democrats since like the 1800s.
Lydia, I would also be concerned he hasn't been a judge very long, right? Think about this. This is a case against the President of the United States, brought in state court with 18 other defendants, charging RICO violations and including 41 counts and 160 criminal acts. And we have a rookie. I mean, he's new at this. Yes, he's a rookie that could theoretically be politically tainted, because he's been involved even with, I think he even worked for the governor, Kemp, who, if you recall, had his own disagreements with President Trump. So it's not just that he worked with the prosecutor, he also worked with the governor. So yes, he has, Democratic affiliations, but guess what? No worse than Jack Smith, right? Jack Smith, was certainly appointed by Democrats in the Justice Department that was looking to get someone sympathetic to the idea that President Trump is responsible for a nationwide conspiracy to defraud the American people and to overturn an election.
Yeah, and Jesse, I'm going to ask you, have you ever been involved with a case with 19 people? I'm sure it's not common. I don't even know the logistics of how you would go about doing that. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but as somebody that's observed a lot of cases, I've been in federal courtrooms, I've been in local court. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, no, for a criminal case, trying to say that you're going to try one case with 19 co-defendants is logistically difficult, to be kind. It's much closer to being logistically impossible. And one thing I think we're going to see very quickly from this judge is that the proof is going to be in the pudding. Fani Willis wants this case to be tried in March, which is just laughable with 19 defendants, discovery that's going to be huge. The fact that it's taken her 2.5 years to put this case together, the railroad job that she's asking for to try to have these defendants be prepared to put on their case in March is just, it's ridiculous. And so we're going to see if the judge goes along with that. I'm hopeful that the judge is going to push back and just point out how completely unreasonable that is, and that Ms. Willis is asking for a railroad job instead of a fair trial. If she wants to get cases to trial much quicker, maybe she should focus on the increasingly rising number of homicides in her jurisdiction that are going completely unanswered, really by her office at the moment. Maybe she should focus a little bit more about that.
Thane, we have about a minute left. I'm not an attorney either, but one thing I do know about a RICO case is that you can be the getaway driver, say for a car, and then you don't even know that the person's going in and has a gun and he kills somebody and everybody gets charged with the same thing. 18 other people in addition to President Trump. What is part of the strategy here? Because when you look at some of the charges people are facing, one person was like, oh, reserved a hotel room. Could this actually be plausible that this person could face all of these years behind bars for simply, say, reserving a hotel room or doing something else benign? Or are they hoping to have people turn on Trump?
So, Lydia, I love that you use getaway driver. That's a great analogy. Yeah, I mean, the whole point is to tie disparate people together for things that they did, even if they had no agreement in a pure conspiracy case. Even if there's no actual agreement, we're tying them all together. But that's what's so interesting about a lot of these defendants trying to get separate trials, right? And many of them will have a good argument, especially given the sheer number of volume of defendants. If you separate them, right, into separate trials, then you can't treat them as part of the broader conspiracy. You have to assume that somehow they were all in concert in some way, and that will be very difficult with the sheer number. But you're raising a good point. What does the getaway driver look like in this case, right? Somebody with one email is responsible for the whole thing? Because that's essentially what RICO gets you.
Yeah, and I'll make a different analogy. It makes what the getaway driver did, connected to the one at the top, which is what this is all about, Jesse.
Yeah, no, I mean, they are trying for this crazy conspiracy theory that they have, which is that somehow this could somehow amount to criminal liability. This is all First Amendment protected activity. There are some very, very heavy legal issues that are going to have to be adjudicated in this case. But when it comes down to it, you have a right to freedom of speech. You have a right to petition government leaders for a redress of grievances. Not only is that in the Constitution, that is in the Declaration of Independence. That is one of the prime reasons why our founders decided to form a new country in the first place.
All right. And that would be their contention, perhaps. On the other side, they would argue there were things being done, not said, that went outside legality. That's going to be their contention, just to lay it out there. So, Jesse, I understand the argument. I'm just saying there's the other side, which is why we're where we are, and we'll continue to have this conversation as the days go by.
Bob, you're just saying it's not just speech. That's what they're going to say.
Yes. I just want to be fair to both sides presenting it.
You cannot have a conspiracy.
I'm sorry?
You cannot have a conspiracy to engage in First Amendment activity. That's what I'm saying. And so if the activity that they are talking about, everything in this case is activity to engage in a constitutionally protected action, including petitioning the government for redress of grievances, which they may say is
okay, fair enough, Jesse. Their side is going to say that has nothing to do with going and creating your own electors, which was an effort that they would argue was not part of the appropriate redress of grievances for elections. So I just laying it out there so people.
They're going to be wrong. They're going to be wrong.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Just laying it out there. And that's why we have you. So.
Yeah.
I think one thing we can all agree on, this case will not go to trial in 6 months with, as you mentioned, the 5,000 pages higher than the whatever.
I'm not convinced it ever goes. I think they just wanted to get it on the books, right? I don't know, but they wanted to get on there. Here's another one. And then who knows if Arizona's coming, right?
Well, why wait 2.5 years?
Okay.
Jesse Banal,
We
Faith Rosenbaum, thank you so much for joining us.